New study. Rising gas prices change energy views. Higher gasoline prices have dramatically changed Americans' views on energy and the environment, with more people now viewing oil drilling and new power plants as a greater priority than energy conservation. So says a new survey. The survey, released by the Pew Research Center, shows nearly half of those surveyed, or approximately 47%, now rate energy exploration, drilling, and building new power plants as a top priority, as compared with 35% who believed that 5 months earlier. So in other words, as the gasoline prices go up, the less that most people even can care or even would care about the environment. Just as long or so long as the gas price comes down, just forget about energy conservation. Anyway, the poll conducted in late June showed the number of people who consider energy conservation as more important declined by 10 percentage points since February, from a clear majority to 45%. People are now approximately or about evenly split on which is more important. The number of people who said they considered increasing energy supplies more important than protecting the environment has increased from 54% in February to 60%. And the number of people who favor oil drilling in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge has also increased. This shows the real impact of higher gas prices on the public, said the Associate Director for the Pew Research Center for the People and the Press, which commissioned the telephone survey of 2,004 adults from June 18th to June 29th. The margin of error was plus or minus 2.5 percentage points, and slightly larger for subgroups. Since February, gasoline prices have soared from just over $3 a gallon to a national average of at least $4.08 a gallon, according to the Energy Department. Among the survey's most astounding findings is the dramatic increase in a span of just 5 months in the support for energy exploration and production among groups that have traditionally championed conservation as being the answer to the country's energy problems. And I would say it still is. But anyway, as an example, the percentage of liberals who said expanding energy exploration was their most important priority doubled from 22% in February to 45%, and increased by 19 points to 50% among independents, and by 18 points to 46% among women. Young people, who in the past have overwhelmingly leaned toward conservation, saw the most dramatic shift. Just over half of the people from 18 to 29 years of age saw expanding energy exploration as more important, double the number in February. The survey showed people remain sharply divided over oil drilling in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, which is now off limits. Well, even if they could, it would take a decade or so just to get any significant oil out of there. It won't help us in the short term, no. But in the June survey, the number of people favoring drilling there increased to 50% compared to just 42% last February. Those who opposed drilling fell from 50% to 43%. This survey comes as Congress is in the midst of a debate, a very bitter debate, over how to respond to the country's energy problems, and as the two major presidential candidates also are sharply divided on energy priorities. McCain, or Obama versus McCain. GOP candidate John McCain has called for building more nuclear power plants and ending a blanket moratorium on drilling in 85% of the country's coastal waters. Advocates of that approach argue that opening new areas to drilling would send a signal to oil markets and theoretically, supposedly, but probably not likely, put pressure on prices to fall. His rival, Barack Obama, has emphasized incentives for conservation and development of alternative domestic energy sources and opposes expanded offshore drilling. It would take quite a while to get all that offshore drilling going. It won't do any good. Alternative domestic energy sources is the way to go. Backers of that approach argue that moving away from a fuel tied to international markets or foreign oil is the best long-term safety net against volatile prices. That's probably closer to the truth. The survey, however, showed Republicans and Democrats moving closer together on the production versus conservation dispute. The number of Democrats who said they saw increased production as a top priority jumped by 16 percentage points since February to 46%. Republicans holding that view declined from about half to 43%. With the exception of the Arctic refuge, the survey did not address any specific energy proposals such as whether to lift drilling prohibitions in some ocean waters. The pros and cons of nuclear energy are the environmental impacts of more coal-burning power plants on global warming. It sought to address general energy priorities. U.S. public frustration over high gas prices and a warming toward more energy production has surfaced elsewhere as well. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich's website calling on people to sign a petition to drill here, drill now has recorded more than 1.2 million hits. In other words, the higher the price of gasoline goes, the less people in general seem to care about conservation or the environment or global warming. It all becomes about money. And today, right now. But what about tomorrow? And what about the kids? What about the little children? What kind of world or country are we leaving them? And their generation, the generations to come. Well, the environment is very important. Global warming is real, and there's more to it, much more to it, than a lot of people can even imagine or realize. These are more signs, the end times, last days, transition days, whatever you want to call it, and there are many.